Okay, guys, welcome to my session titled Back to the Future, Engaging Backwards Design. So here would be your QR code to scan if you need to register for NCBOLD today. But today's sort of an overview of what you expect or what you would see if you came to my session. So brief interview. I'm David Madigan. Quick introduction. I'm a high school art and AP art history teacher, and I currently work in Pitt County Schools over in Greenville, North Carolina. I do enjoy playing pickleball for physical activity. I really like to camp. Fish, build things, hang out with my 4 kids and my awesome wife. And I do enjoy cooking and eating new foods. In fact, recently got back from a trip to Europe and tried lots of new things. And wow, thoroughly enjoy trying all kinds of different foods. So here is where you would type in the bit.ly, or you can click the link, or you can scan the QR code because we want to make sure we are accessible to all for our particular session. So again, back to the future, and this is sort of a thinking, how to rethink or how to rewire yourself in thinking for designing, whether it be lessons or whether it be content for your teachers if you're an IC, or maybe even whether it's your principal and you're looking to have some objectives met. And so the idea is to sort of rewire the way we think. So today's agenda looks like this. We're going to have an engaging activity. We're going to have some time to explore a variety of backwards design resources. We're going to do a debrief, and then we're going to set some goals because, with any type of PD or session like this, we want to have some takeaways, and it's really important. So we're going to get engaged with an activity that I thoroughly enjoy doing both in my classroom and with adults, and I call it Get Inked. And so for this activity, if you're a participant in the session, your goal is to think about and design a tattoo for someone famous. So as we're thinking about that, what are some images, designs, letters, shapes, numbers, things such as that might come to mind when thinking about your chosen person? And of course, if we think about that, we'll go to Michael Jordan. And so we think about Michael Jordan, we might think about the number 23, the UNC logo, basketball, Chicago Bulls, baseball, the White Sox, cigars, boats, a variety of things like that we could challenge ourselves with coming up with. And so that's where we'll have a chance to brainstorm. Now, here, participants would have product choice, and I highly recommend this if you do this with your audience as well. So you can choose non-tech, which I will have note cards and colored pencils, and or you can choose auto draw, and I will do a quick brief intro to auto draw and how it works. And so how it works is essentially you start to draw things, and it auto draw will guess with AI what you're trying to draw. So for example, I'll try to draw a pretty messed up basketball here, and you can see at the top it's starting to try to figure out what I want. And so as it does, it pulls up several different basketball images. In fact, I kind of like that one with the action lines right there. And we're able to change that. And then of course we can use the select tool, and we can adjust the size and move it, and we can change the color. And there's a lot of varieties and options, abilities you can do with auto draw. So this is a safe option. And of course, some students or some participants may also choose to do the hands-on as well. So we'll have a quick game of Guess Who, and this is also sort of a way to get social, mix and mingle, and communicate and collaborate as well as we're doing the session. So when we get back settled, we want to know the why. Like, why are we here? And in today's session, our goal is to investigate exactly how backwards design, when we thinking, can be used to increase skill, proficiency, and most importantly, student engagement, because student engagement leads to all of the other things. So explore time. We're going to be doing a foldable, and so you'll take a piece of paper and you'll fold it into 4 sections. And in the top left corner, take a moment and write down any words, bullet points, phrases, what comes to mind when you hear the word backwards design. So here's where I'll give participants a moment to think independently. And then we'll do elbow partners. So somebody who's within elbow's reach of you, pair up with them and share your thoughts back and forth about your writings when you thought of the words backwards design. And then we'll look at this image here, and we think about, all right, in football, the ultimate goal for an NFL football team is to win the Super Bowl that particular year. However, there's a lot that happens between February and the beginning of the season in August. And so we're going to talk about how exactly do we get there. We got to go to training camp. We've got to have a good draft. We got to have great practices. We've got to have great film watching. We've got to make adjustments in the locker room. We've got to make adjustments at halftime. We've got to win games. And so all that is going to be rolled into when we're thinking about education or engagement or proficiency. The same rules apply. We have to start with the Super Bowl in mind, or mastering the objective in mind, but how do we actually get there? And we're going to take a look at that today. So end goal would be Super Bowl for education. The end goal would be mastering the objective. How would we get there? Well, we've got to win that regular season in football, and in education, we've got to tackle some activities. We got to tackle some activities, some assignments that will help us to understand how to get to that end goal or that objective. And then where do we start? We simply start with practice. Practice may be teacher-led examples. Practice may be working with small groups, engaging activities, opening things such as that. So all this combined leads to the end goal, because we've got to think about exactly how to get to that point. So for this particular activity, you'll be using the top right corner of your foldable, and we're going to do the 4 A's. You're going to write down the word assumptions, the word agree, argue, and aspire. And what you'll do is you will read through an article, or audio, or a podcast, video, and you will write down, as you are reviewing that resource, what assumptions has the author had of us? What do we agree with about the resource? What do you want to argue with? Maybe say, I'm not so sure about that, based on your personal experiences. And then finally, what part of the resource do you aspire? That was really cool. I would really like to try that in my role. And so here, you're given choice. You may read an article, you may listen to a podcast, or you may watch a video, and then you'll complete the 4 A's in your foldable in the top right corner. Okay, some time will pass. And then we will give one, get one. So what we'll do is we'll stand up, you'll take your foldable, you'll walk around the room, and you'll find somebody that reviewed a different resource than you. So for example, if I chose to listen to the podcast, I need to find somebody who did the video article. We're going to take turns. I'll give them one of my 4 A's, and they'll give me one of their 4 A's back. We'll do this a couple of different times just to sort of get some mix and mingle, some collaboration, and of course, more so really just to get some ideas and perspectives from other people and participants. Here in the bottom left corner, you're going to have a chance to explore some samples that have been created and of how backwards design works. And for this, what you'll do is you will use the link below to investigate one of the 3 lesson plan examples. Record which lesson you investigated and jot down 2 likes and potentially 2 dislikes of the lesson. So when we click the link here, it will take us to an area. We can look at 3 examples. We can take a look at the Boston Tea Party, the lunar cycle, or literary metaphor. So here's 3 examples that have been created. And of course, these are just samples. There's a variety of ways this can be done. And for the area of your foldable, that's where you jot down the 2 likes and dislikes. So now, based on what we gathered, what is backwards design? How does it work? We've seen it in a lesson plan. Well, we've got to apply it, because again, when we go to sessions, we want to have something to take away. And I think that's super important as individuals. So what we're going to do is you have product choice for this particular segment. You may choose a printed sheet. I'll have printed sheets at my session, or you can click and use the backwards design text sheet as well. You'll, of course, use template here. And my challenge to you is to spend a few moments, all right? Think about maybe a struggle where your students are struggling to learn or master an objective. I can think of several that I could plug in here, teaching AP Art History. And so what are the learning targets? So identify, what exactly do you want students to know? Is it to understand the differences between context of literature? Is it to understand the life cycle of a frog? Is it to understand, etc.? So that's the goal or the learning target, and you can be specific or generic. And then what are some things, some assessments, some rubrics, some assignments, some things such as that? What are some things that we'll use to get there? And that's where you type in the evidence section. And then finally, what are some baby steps? Would you start off with a video that students know nothing about as an overview of what your objective looks like, and then how are they going to work their way to that? As an art teacher, I would show them a final example, a great example of what a project would look like, and then we'd work our way back to that. So exactly how does that work? And so how are you going to create the steps in which students will achieve that goal? So once we have a little bit of time to explore the backwards design planning sheet, whether you do physical or digital, we'll have a chance to do an elevator pitch. And so I'll have you guys get up, and you'll have 60 seconds or less, as if you're riding an elevator to your next floor, to share your ideas from your planning sheet. What are you planning on doing? And you'll kind of trade back and forth with that person chosen in the session. Finally, we want to have a chance to debrief. So I'll talk about how the session was planned with a variety of tech and non-tech. I'll talk about how it was planned with a variety of choice. We used timers accessible to all. It allowed for some individual work, some individual explore time, some collaborative work, and things such as that. And we'll talk about what are some strategies that you took away from the session that you could take right back to your environment. And then finally, we'll look at goal setting, like exactly what do you want to do? And this is important. So in the bottom right corner, this will complete your foldable. What is one step or one goal and one next step? Like, what are you going to take to this upcoming school year and use for your classroom or your role using backwards design as a thought process? Again, here's my information. You'll be able to scan to provide the feedback on the session, and I appreciate your time.